In the state of Nebraska, when the court's trying to determine and look at different factors with regard to the custody of the minor children, the paramount concern that they're going to be looking at and taking into consideration is the best interest of the minor children. The best interest of the minor children, like many areas of law and family law, is sort of a gray area, but they're really looking out for, are the basic needs of the children being met? Are the families in a stable position? Which parent is more stable than the other? Which parent's been the primary caregiver for the majority of the minor children's lives? Or do the parents have sort of a co-working relationship where they're co-parenting and sharing those kinds of duties? They're looking at incomes of the parties to some degree and looking at basically which party is in the position to provide the most stability for the minor children without making them go through several different levels of change. When you're looking at custody of the minor children, the relationship between the parent and the child, while important in reality, is not an overarching and determining factor in deciding which parent gets custody, unless there's been a complete and total breakdown of the relationship between the minor children and one of the parents. Generally speaking, the Nebraska courts, at least at this time, are very pro-joint physical custody, meaning both parties have an equal share, an equal parenting time. And then they're also very pro-joint legal custody right now, which is each parent has equal decision-making capacity. The relationship with the minor children is important. However, it's not the overarching factor that the courts are looking at when deciding which parent is going to be granted custody. Mental and physical health of the parents is an important aspect when determining custody of the minor children, because the parents have to, first of all, be stable in order to provide stability for the minor children. With the mental aspect, you also have a bunch of different factors with regard to the emotional attachment that the children have, that the parents have with the children, the ability for the parents to control their moods and control their emotions. We see a lot of different cases where there's anger issues, frustration issues, abuse issues, and things like that. So controlling your emotions, having a high emotional intelligence, and having a connected bond are all things that are taken into consideration. A question that we receive a lot is how much does the child's opinion on which parent they would like to be with weigh in the custody battle? And truthfully, it doesn't really have much of an opinion until the minor children get older. When they're younger, it's very common that the child will have a closer bond with one parent over the other. But in reality, they're too young in order to be able to convey that opinion to the court at a mature level. So really, it's once the child reaches I'd say the early teens, that they're able to really convey their opinion with a level of maturity that the court would take into consideration. So younger children, their opinion weighs sort of less, I guess, than what an older child does because of the age level and just their ability to convey that opinion to the court. Being an involved parent is an important aspect to the custody battle. However, it's not necessarily the most important part. Whether you're the parent that gets them up in the morning, that gets them ready for school, that does the transportation to school, if you're the one that's doing the scheduling for the activities or keeping the calendar, those kinds of things, who does the meal prep, who's buying groceries, who's taking them to the doctors, who's taking them to athletics and different practices and things like that, is all important. And it does give the parent that's doing the majority of those things sort of a leg up in the custody battle. But at the same time, just because one parent isn't doing those things, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get custody. In a lot of different households, you see sort of a division of labor where one party may do some of these things while the other party does more of them, but the other party is doing things outside that don't involve the children but are necessary for the household. So it's an important factor, but it's not a conclusive factor.